Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Chris, aka Beardedfilmguy, on here, and welcome to Set 2.0. This is an idea that I've had for a long time. I don't want the channel to be just like a look what we bought. I don't want that. I do want to show off all the cool stuff that we buy and everything like that. Of course, that's what we do. But I didn't want that to be everything, right? So try to throw in different ideas and hunts and stuff, but you're not really doing that as much today as I feel like it was a year ago. A lot of stuff now is just kind of coming in online from online orders and stuff. So the idea of the desk of sitting down is A, I'm more comfortable, so I'm liking this, and B, I kind of wanted to create two styles of videos. I wanted there to be hauls and pickups and stuff like that where I'm standing. I got the collection behind me. It looks great, but I also wanted to do a little bit more discussion style stuff for showcases and all that kind of nice stuff. And I thought it'd just be nicer to be kind of sitting. It's a little more relaxed. I'm able to slow down, I feel like, because I feel better. I'm sitting in this nice comfortable chair at the desk, and it's all good and well. So I hope it looks good. I hope it sounds good. Hope everything's good. So today, the topic of today, I'm a little bit late. Usually I can get these out quicker, but today I'm going to be going over the Severin January releases. I got these in a couple of weeks ago. It was like beginning of February, I think, that these shipped, and I got them in. It took me a little bit of time to get through them, per se. It took a little while longer than it usually does. Work's been a little crazy, all that cool stuff's been a little crazy. Life's wild anymore. Time is flying. So this month, basically every month, I don't consider myself a reviewer by any means, right? Like, I know a little bit about production and film restoration and all of that stuff, but I'm not interested in being just like a reviewer or somebody who does reviews. I'm not interested in that. There are tons of great people doing that here on YouTube, and I'll point you to them all day long. Like, they're doing fantastic. I more so like want to showcase and discuss and just kind of talk about. So I'm not really reviewing these titles per se. I'm just kind of giving my thoughts, which I guess is a review, but it's a lot less legit than a proper review. I'm not one of those people who I don't just love something or hate something. I feel like film is entirely subjective. That's the word I'm looking for. It's all everybody has a different take. There are great movies that I don't like. There are bad movies that I love. There's a couple in this pile that would probably fall into that category, but and there's a lot of things. It's never just black or white. It's always complicated when it comes to film, when it comes to movies and releases and our opinions and all of that cool stuff. So I wanted to be able to kind of do this stuff objectively and not really have a take of oh, this is bad, this is good, and here's my review. I don't want that. I'm more so I would like to open up discussions and have people comment back and us go back and forth and talk about these movies. To me, that's much more interesting as far as my content, and I'll spend all day on here watching other people's reviews and supporting their channels and supporting what they do. So it's kind of a best of both worlds situation. But I already placed my order for the Severin February releases. I'll throw a picture up here. I did the Just the Discs bundle. That's pretty much what I do every month. All the other cool stuff that they put out is really interesting and it's fun, but that starts getting expensive, and that's not there's budgetary restrictions to everything, right, in the world of collecting. But the January releases were 3 titles that one was a big one. The other 2 I wasn't too familiar with. So in January we got Australian slasher called Blood Moon. We got Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein on Blu-ray, and then the big one, the big daddy of it all, is Burial Ground on 4K. So let's take a dive in, and let's start with, I have to say, it's so nice to have a desk to just put stuff on. Let's start with Blood Moon. This did not come with a store slipcover, so you have your regular cover. Sorry about the glare in there. Cool cover there, though. Whoa. Here is your back. I'm just going to keep it going. So there is the back. You crack it open, and on the inside is your disc art, which I love. And this is the North American disc premiere of this film. I knew nothing. I never even heard of this before. It's a Australian slasher. Pretty much, it takes place at a, what is it? It is a all-girls school that is next door to an all-boys school. And somebody's going around taking out teenagers, mostly teenage girls, and the boys that accompany them, with barbed wire. And yeah, in your typical slasher fashion, there's a little bit of a whodunit element, even though it doesn't really lean into that as much. And then the last, I would say, quarter of the film, not even the last act per se, not even the last third, the last quarter turns into full-blown, awesome, ridiculous slasherness. So here's a really cool thing about Blood Moon. There's something in here called the Fright Break, which is a moment during a theatrical run where the movie actually gives the audience a chance to leave if they do not want to continue watching the movie. I did not watch this with the Fright Break because at the time I didn't know what it was, and I don't really know when it comes in per se, but I looked it up and watched it, and pretty much the audience, they were like, hey, what's about to come is really scary, and if you're not into this, here's a break. You can get out now, and everybody who's down to keep watching this can stay. So that's really cool, really unique for this release that's still featured in here. As far as special features go, there is a audio interview. There's actually another interview and a trailer, and then your Fright Break trailer. But I ended up having a lot of fun with this, a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have. Yeah, pretty much everything on the back as far as the pull quotes go are pretty true. And one thing that I noticed is like plays out like a twisted John Hughes movie Down Under. Yeah, the first half or the first 3/4 of the movie, I would say, really focuses on the teens, and sort of there's this element of it where you have the boys attending the school who are rich, they're wealthy, they're of a higher class than your locals per se, and they kind of come around and they cause trouble. And then you have the locals. It's really ironic how these kids kind of come into the local town and then like talk down on them. It's like you came into, it's not your home turf, dog, get out of here. And there's this whole plot of revenge that goes down at the prom and stuff, and that starts some romance and all that, so it's a lot of fun. And it's nowhere near like written like a John Hughes movie, obviously. I mean, who can compare to John Hughes? But as far as the focus on the teenagers and those characters, I do think it's pretty structured like that. It is funny. I had actually had a couple good laughs with this. It's when you get to the slasher stuff that is the strongest element. The first couple kills, it's like barbed wire in the eyes and there's fingers taken off and stuff, and it's graphic. But the last quarter of this is awesome. You have a nun flinging acid, which leads to a very disturbing, disfigured person. There is sabotage and trickery. Yeah, why don't you want that? And then it ends with one of my favorite, kind of like, it's an ending that I didn't expect, and it was an ending that kind of left me in a state of like, okay, damn, all right, it went there. So I can see the problems with this. It's really, really, really slow, and because the characters aren't written the best, you're not really that actively into what they're going through and what they're doing. It's fun, but you're not overly in love with them enough that you have like any sort of real personal investment into their characters. So I can see where the very little criticism out there gets its opinions from. But the slasher stuff is really, really, really well done here. And for the price of this, I think this is a great little slasher to add into the collection. Severin did a good job. Again, I'm just happy to be getting these really rare, obscure slasher flicks out, especially in the US. It actually says on here, this is the first time. So this is scanned, uncut, and 4K from the negative at the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia, and complete with the Blood Moon Fright Break Challenge for the first time ever in America. So Severin out here doing really, really cool stuff. And another interesting fact I forgot to bring up, the cinematographer / director of photography Alec Mills actually worked on Macbeth, Return of the Jedi, The Living Daylights. So some pretty big names involved in this one. This one was directed by never mind, it was the directorial debut of Alec Mills. So check that out. So definitely Blood Moon, I like. Give it a go. I don't have as strong a thoughts. I think I gave Blood Moon like a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Those ratings are loose. I'm not a critic. This next one I didn't have as good a time with, and that is Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. It has this web exclusive slipcover. Check this thing out. I always appreciate this gothic art here in the back. Severin fashion. And then I did flip the inside art here. So this is your standard art. Sorry about the glare again. And then the back there. This is the North American disc premiere, and this release was, first of all, it's directed by Jes Franco, so you kind of know what you're going to get, except you don't. This is a little different than your standard Jes Franco fare. There's almost no nudity. B, there's no sex, which is weird. That's weird for Jes Franco. And it's very tamed as far as the violence goes. But, every single time that I place an order for Severin stuff during their monthly releases, I listen to the podcast, which is fantastic. If you're a Severin collector, their podcast gives you great insight into what work went into these releases and kind of what they're doing over there. And this film was tricky because it was sort of all over the place. Each cut that did exist of the film was incomplete. So they sort of had to find a bunch of different, I'm saying a few different versions of the original film, because I think this is scanned in 4K from the Spanish, French, and German release prints. So 3 different prints were found, and this is actually the most comprehensive cut of the film to come out to date. So before this, each cut was a little bit different depending on which one you saw, and you can see that in the scan for this. There are moments where it looks beautiful, and then there are other moments like the opening credits where it's a lot grainier, a lot more of a messier per se. But this was a complicated release for them to put out. So again, I greatly appreciate the work that goes into putting together a release like this. It's a Blu-ray, but putting together a release like this. And then as far as your bonus features go, you have Prisoner of Frankenstein. It's an interview with the author of the Delirious Cinema of Jes Franco. You have In the Land of Franco Part 10, the opening credit sequence, the deleted scene, and the trailer. And this one was, I kind of went into it a little blind. I had heard the opinions of those from Severin on the podcast. And I was like, okay, so it seems like there's a little bit of a love-hate thing with this. Almost no dialogue. This movie is almost all score, which is, the score is incredible. But the very little bit of dialogue there is, it's shocking. Like, just how little there is. I don't know if it was like, if other cuts contain more dialogue or others contain less. I don't know, but there is so little dialogue in this. And if you at any moment can explain to me what's happening in the story beyond the first 20 minutes, so for the remaining 63 minutes of the runtime, if at any moment you can tell me what's happening in the plot, you earn an award or something, because the film tells the story of a doctor who's pretty much wanting to put together it's Dr. Seward, who kind of wants to put together like a super group, right? So he brings Dracula back to life after Dracula's untimely death. He already has Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster per se, and then he has the Wolfman, and he wants to build this super army, and that's all I know, because the plot outside of that is like nothing. And I have to give this movie credit because it's beautiful. Jes Franco, all of his movies, no matter varying quality, all of his movies look fantastic. The camera's always moving. First of all, there's always zooming in, zooming out, always panning. But the gothic atmosphere of this is some of my favorite I've seen in a long time. But just really, it's unfortunate that there's not a comprehensive story to back that up. Because if you had a story that's a little more understandable and maybe a little more interesting, than like somebody described it online as a bunch of adults in makeup making a movie. It's kind of what it is. the cinematography is far superior than the actual contents of the story and stuff. So I didn't relate with this one as much as I loved the imagery, and there were multiple times I was like, damn, that looks great. I just did not relate to the story very much at all because I didn't know what was going on. And there's a certain level of quality when it comes to monster movies that I can handle. This was made in 1972 at a runtime of 83 minutes, and the monster genre had far better entries than what this was doing at that time. I get this has the Jes Franco'S spin, and it's got that whole thing going on for it, but it just doesn't, there's so much better out there, especially in the monster mashup category, bringing in these universal monsters. So I didn't fall in love with this one. I didn't hate it, but this is one I don't see myself kind of rewatching anytime soon. At the back, the pool quote here says, "A fever dream of a cinephiliac," and it's a little bit of a fever dream because, much like my dreams, I have no idea what the hell was going on. So that's Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. Cool slipcover though for the web store exclusive. But speaking of having no idea what the hell is going on, the big release here in January from Severin is that of Burial Ground in 4K, if I can get that to focus. There is the web store exclusive slipcover. Here is the back. It's zombie makeup though. This was not my first go around with Burial Ground. I actually own the Severin Blu-ray, so this was an upgrade. I was interested because I did not pick up the 88 Films 4K release. I kind of had a feeling that this was going to come eventually from the guys over at Severin. Same with 88 Films just announced Absurd and Anthropophagus for overseas on 4K, so patiently waiting for that announcement from Severin that they're going to do the US 4Ks for it. But here is obviously the Notorious artwork. Again, I'm so sorry for that glare. And here is the back. Now, this is a 4K. So, and as far as I know, this is a new scan. I saw in some conversations that it's the 88 film scan. But as far as I know, from what I picked up from the podcast, this is a new scan done by Severin. Probably minute differences between the 88 films and this. These movies can only look so good, but as far as color timing and stuff, there might be little differences. If you know for sure the answer to that question, let me know down below. And this is a 2-disc, so we crack this open and you have your 4K and your Blu-ray, and then I think there's alternate work on here. No, there's not. So that's just your inner artwork. So personally, I always have a lot of fun with Burial Ground. I'm more of a Lucio Fulci zombie fan. I feel like it's kind of either or. This Burial Ground is crazy. If you know and you've seen this film before, you know pretty much what you're in for. This zombie makeup is absolutely absurd. I mean, I'll show you one more time. Just that back there. That's the thing I was surprised by when I watched this movie for the first time was the variety of those zombie masks, because they're just masks. You can actually see the much alive skin of the actors in the gaps of the mouth and stuff. But that's part of the charm of it all, right? That's part of the whole thing. That's why we love these movies so much, because of those little issues here and there. It's fine. But this 4K looks fantastic. I heard great things about the 4K from 88 Films. There are moments where you kind of see that dip in quality, but then it shoots right back up. The cool thing about this movie is that I think most of it takes place during the day, except for the interior stuff. So everything on the exterior looks absolutely incredible. I thought the interior colors look great. The darks look great. Color of the blood looks awesome. There was just a lot of good detail that came into this. And this movie's so weird. This is such an odd film. It's kind of like it's more of a fever dream, I think, than Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein is, where you're just sort of like, what the hell is going on? You have the character of Michael, who's played by Peter Bark, who is this weird, trying not to be disrespectful, man-child. You have the iconic moment where he's laying in bed and he's got his head on a pillow and his eyes are wide. And funny enough, they actually made that pillow cover. And he's weird. He seems to always come around when his mother's actively engaging in some sort of sexual activity. So he comes around. So it's weird, you get that feeling of like, something's kind of up with this kid, I think. And then you have the zombies rise up, and they're cool. I mean, if I was to think about how would I make a lower budget like zombie movie to the max effect, I would put robes, just full body robes onto my zombie actors, make a bunch of masks, and then just go at it like that. Put some live maggots on the eye. Do cool stuff like that. Like that's exactly what I think I would do if I'm saving money and I'm cutting corners. It makes sense, and then you can even reuse the masks. I'm sure in the background some of the masks are reused and they're thrown on other people. So there's a lot of cool stuff in Burial Ground, and it's really weird. You get into incest at the end, which is the oddest thing in the world. The incest pretty much leads to boob biting and all kinds of other crazy stuff, but Burial Ground hits pretty much everything that you want in your zombie movie. There are many gut chomping scenes. They're ripping out intestines and livers and all kinds of nasty gross stuff and eating them. There's this bunch of really cool slow motion shots of like they're really old and they're like crypt zombies. So when the character hits them in the head and it's in slow motion, it's like dust that pops out, or when they get shot, it's like mud comes out of the wound, So it's a lot of cool stuff. And here's the thing. It's a movie that gets up and just goes. It's only 85 minutes long. And this movie takes no chance at creating characters or anything like that. You just have your batch, your main cast. You know a little bit about them. Like, oh, he's a photographer and this is his significant other. So pretty much that's like the extent of the characters here. And then when things go down, you start to see some heroic tendencies and other. They all seem pretty in for helping each other here, but a Burial Ground just gives you no chance at happiness. It's a good time the whole time, but the movie does not end on a good note. It gives you no chance to like feel positive about the events happening in the movie. This set design is beautiful. I love the cryptic kind of area and that we introduced in the beginning. The room that they're in at the end with the stairs, and just really cool stuff that pops in 4K. I'm really stoked to have this in the collection on 4K. Finally, this is a movie that I will revisit plenty of times. I will have plenty of drinks while throwing this on, and I'm really happy to have it in the highest format available. And it's a big difference. I mean, from the Blu-ray to this, there's a pretty substantial difference. I just watched the Blu-ray only a couple of months ago when I found it. I found it at a resale store. I forget where I was. Found it at a resale store, and I ended up watching it. And I was like, yeah, this looks great. This looks better than it did on, I think, Tubi was the other place I saw it. So the big release. And this, of course, has... So you have, on the 4K disc, you have two commentaries. The first is with critics, and then the second is with two Italian cinema experts. So I'm going to be checking those out soon. Disc 2 on the Blu-ray, you have a location featurette. There is an interview on here with Peter Bark that I know 88 Films kind of helped Severin get hit. Like 88 Films, I think, kind of put the word in his ear, like, hey, you should do this. This is for good people. And he ended up doing it. There is a Q&A with Peter Bark. He's really sort of become more comfortable with this film. So happy to see him a couple times on here. We have two other interviews as well as deleted and extended material. So this disc has no shortage of bonus features on here. And those two commentaries, one with critics and the other with Italian film experts, are sound extremely interesting to watch. So yeah, this is perfect. That's the pool quote on the back of this says, there's weird, there's fucking weird, and then there's Burial Ground. So pretty much the big release for Severin, Burial Ground on 4K. Overall, I mean, strong month for Severin. They came into this year, December, they put out the three Mikhail Suavi movies. You had Cemetery Man, The Sect, and The Church. You had Spider Labyrinth, which featured a commentary with my buddy Ryan from The Disconnected on it. You had Raiders of the Living Dead, The Dead One. Like, they ended 2023 with just a huge bang, and they came into 2024 again with no intention of going anywhere but continuing to go up. I'm really, 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 I get attached to certain labels. And Severin has been one of those labels that I keep discovering movies that I love from them. I really just love what they put in. So I will continue to be buying bundles, continuing to be doing these types of showcases, showing off what's going on and what's coming out from Severin. So of the 3 from January, I think my favorite is going to be Blood Moon, because I'm a sucker for new. But Burial Ground on 4K is fantastic. Obviously, this is going to be a huge, huge seller from them. I just hope people give films like Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. If I say I don't like something, don't make that be the decision maker. You buy what you want and check it out, because you might love this movie. But definitely check out Blood Moon. Big fan of this one. I think this was on Tubi or something last I checked. But do me a favor down below. Let me know what you think of this style of video. Comment down below what you picked up from Severin, if anything, from the January sale. And yeah, on that note, I'll catch y'all later.